Hey everyone, my name's Lavonne and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so delighted to have my little nephew Dakota here with me, and we are going to be talking all about swaddling. So I know that this can be a really stressful skill. If you haven't been around a newborn very much, you may be like, how do I swaddle, especially you partners out there? And so I'm going to make it super easy for you. I'm going to give you all my insider tips and tricks and the whys. I'm also going to show you multiple different types of swaddles, what are the benefits of them, and then I'm actually gonna show you how to swaddle your newborn with sweet Dakota here. But before I get started, don't forget to subscribe down below, give it a like, share it with a friend, and then let's get going. Swaddling is one of those essential parent skills that's going to be really important for you to know how to do. Now, I will say that this day and age that there are lots of options out there for you. There are swaddles that aren't really truly just a blanket type swaddle. They're actually designed to make it really simple for you, okay? So I'm going to show you all the things, give you some different options, but first, let's talk about swaddling. So what is swaddling? Really all it is that you have your baby wrapped up so they feel nice and tight and secure. When we're talking about soothing an infant, a lot of parents, especially new parents, are worried about all the crying, that babies cry all the time. They actually cry to communicate. And so we want to recognize, okay, you're telling us something. Sometimes that is, I'm uncomfortable. Sometimes that's, I don't feel safe and secure. And sometimes that might be, I'm sleepy, so help me go to sleep. And swaddling is a tool to help your baby soothe, help your baby sleep, and help your baby stay sleeping. Now, do you have to swaddle your newborn? Nope, you don't, okay? And actually there is, if you get online and you look at the American Academy of Pediatrics, when you look at SIDS, so sudden infant death syndrome, and avoiding sudden infant death syndrome, swaddling actually is listed as one of the risks for sudden infant death, so SIDS. And so what I wanna say is our recommendation for swaddling is that when you put them down to sleep, you can swaddle them. Babies need to be sleeping on their back, not on their tummy, not on their side. There needs to be nothing else in their crib with them or their bassinet or whatever. Literally just a onesie, a swaddle on their back until they can roll over. So you're swaddling until about 3 months, which turns out to be about 3 months, or until they can roll over on their own. Because as you can imagine, if he were to roll over on his face and we have his arms all locked in, his face is likely going to be kind of like nuzzled into the crib or into the bassinet or whatever you have your baby in. And so for safety's sake, you can swaddle. Now, the thing with swaddling is that swaddling actually helps prevent the Moro reflex. And if you've seen a newborn or maybe your baby's already born, you see when they're on their back and like a loud noise happens or you bump the table when you're changing them or something. And in fact, I will show you a video here. So that is actually Dakota on the changing table and him being like, "Whoa, my goodness, that's the Moro reflex." It looks like they're shaking, but that's just a normal thing. It means their brain's working fine. But that can wake them up. And when we're putting them on their back, they're gonna wake up a little more when they're not swaddled, okay? So that would be one of the benefits of swaddling, is to help your baby sleep, all right? So we want them on their back, we want them swaddled only until they can roll over. Once they can roll over, just put them in a footed onesie, so like a one-piece thing, which you'll see here in just a second when I swaddle him. And that can be enough. Otherwise, there are multiple different types of swaddles, okay? And so by swaddles, we can say it's like a blanket, it's like a square piece of fabric. Literally, I found like this super cute fabric at my house and I just cut it in 2 pieces and now that's like 2 swaddles for him, okay? There's different weights to it. So also think about the climate. When we talk about temperature of a baby, first of all, what are some signs that the baby's overheated, that they're too warm, especially when we pull out something like this. This thing is like fleece, it's heavy duty. It may be potential for overheating your baby, and you wouldn't want something like this in a warm climate. And so if they're breathing really fast, and babies breathe on the faster side, but if they're while they're sleeping, or they look really flushed and red, or they break out in a little bit of a rash, or they're sweating. Those are signs that your baby might be a little bit too hot, that you need to remove a layer, air them out a little bit, okay? And so you're gonna learn that over time. So think about the climate that you're in. Right now, I'm in our basement and it is probably like 70 something degrees down here. It's on the chillier side, but I'm very comfortable with this lightweight sweater on. He's probably fine. He has like a little outfit under this. This is probably good for him, okay? He feels nice and toasty. He's definitely warm. So swaddling is also a way to keep them warm, but we want to avoid them from overheating. So when you're choosing your swaddle, if it's chilly, go for a heavier duty one. If it's on the hotter side, then you may not even need to swaddle, or you just put them in their diaper with like a lighter weight blanket, more like the muslin swaddles, okay? So now, as far as blankets go, there's kind of 3 types of blankets that you can use to swaddle, and I've actually already filmed the swaddle portion of this, so you'll see that in just a second. And so there's the stretchy fabric. Let me see what this actually is. So this is 69% polyester, 28% rayon, and 3% spandex. So this is gonna be a lot more stretchy. Now, always swaddles and blankets, you can never have too many of these guys. Throw them in your bag, throw them in your car, have them around the house. You can always lay them down to put the baby on. You can use them as a breastfeeding cover. You can use them as a scarf if you're cold. You can swaddle them. You can tuck in while you're breastfeeding to help support you in different areas. So there's lots of reasons to use a swaddle. Mind you, we're talking about the type that's like the covering the baby type. But the stretchy ones, honestly, this is my favorite. If I were to personally choose, and you're gonna find your own preference, but if I were to choose, I'm gonna go with the stretchy one. And I'll show you that and talk about that later, okay? So there's stretchy swaddles, and then this would be a hospital swaddle. So in the hospital, if you look at the size, this is gonna be on the smaller side. Now, mind you, it's still pretty good size, but your baby's gonna grow out of the hospital swaddle a lot faster than they would your other basic swaddles or blankets from like Amazon or wherever you get your swaddles from. So look at how much bigger this one is than the hospital swaddle, okay? So there's hospital ones, and these are gonna be a little bit thicker, more like fleece. They're gonna be a little warmer. This literally was taken from the hospital, sorry hospital. Or these are super popular, are your muslin swaddles, okay? And so these are gonna be great for lightweight. They're great to like throw over the stroller when you're outside to protect the baby from the sun. But look how big this thing is. It's enormous. So what do you do with that when you have like a super tiny little baby? Which I'll show you in just a second, okay? So there's different types of those, which those would be like kind of the 3 categories, and you're gonna find what your preference is. Again, I told you my preference is a stretchy one, but I still use all the other ones when I was in the hospital. I love the little blankets from the hospital. Flex and flow, find your favorite thing. And then I brought a few different options. Now, mind you, this is not at all of the options out there, but you have different types of like pre-made swaddles that are actually truly swaddles. This one is going to be a little bit lighter weight, okay? And it's gonna be, you would just put the feet in the bottom part here. So baby would lay here, this comes up, and then you just literally flap the flap this way. This is like so not showing you the point, but you got the idea. And then this comes across and literally it's Velcro. So the swaddle ends up like you see like him here, it ends up like this and it's literally 3 steps, okay? But there's gonna be different weights, different types of material. I think this is probably all cotton. Yeah, 100% cotton. And then this one is gonna be a little bit heavier duty. So for your colder temperatures, this is a great option. Now, the other thing is when you look at the pre-made swaddles, a lot of them have lots of room in the bottom. So I'm also gonna talk about this in a second, but the key here is that you want them safe and secure. You want them tucked and tight up here, and their arms can be here or here. But when they're safe like that, it's preventing the Moro reflex. And then also you want the hips to be able to move, because that's going to, one, help them sleep better, but it's also gonna prevent like a hip dysplasia or a dislocation of their hips or growth issues, okay? We want full movement of the hips. We want them to be able to kick, but not kick themselves out of the swaddle. So that is actually the risk of the like blankety swaddles. And these ones are really nice because if you find yourself that your baby gets out of the swaddle really quickly, then the pre-wrap, I don't know what you call these. literally just a swaddle, but like the ones that make it really simple for you are probably gonna be a better option for you. Flex and flow, you're gonna find what you like, and each baby might be different too, that like your first baby like loved and it was super simple with just the basic blanket swaddle, and then the next one was like able to get out of the swaddle in 2 seconds and you needed more of a heavy duty type swaddle, okay? So the other option I have here, this one is gonna be one of our more pricey swaddles. This is an Ollie, and this one you literally just wrap around the baby like that. It Velcros on the side, super simple. So it's around the baby's shoulders here. And then there's a little tie at the bottom, which you can always do with the blankets as well. You literally just tie it around the bottom, and this part is open at the bottom, okay? So lots of different options, your own personal preference. Honestly, grab yourself a blanket. I always joke that your baby needs a boob, a blanket, and a box. And so just make sure you have a few of these guys laying around, all right? We'll make it work with all of the above. Now, the other thing to think about when you're swaddling your infant is that your newborn really thrives off of anything that mimics the womb. And so another reason why we swaddle is because when they're inside in the womb prior to being born, they really run out of space. They're like stuck kind of like this, and they try to move and wiggle and but actually that feels safe, that feels familiar to them. So that may be also another reason to swaddle, and then also will help you with sleep, help you with soothing your infant. This is always a go-to. If you have a crying baby and you know they're fed, their diaper's clean, they're not gassy, they've burped for you recently, they're not constipated, they don't have a fever, sometimes a swaddle might be one of those magic things that they just need to feel safe and secure. You grab them, you rock them, you shush them, and they fall right asleep for you. Okay, so when you're setting up to swaddle, I'm actually just gonna put these guys aside. I'm sure they come with directions. They're very self-explanatory. They make this whole process very easy for you. But when you're dealing with the big ones, first of all, you want a flat surface for their neck here. So think straight across their neck and then point to you, right? So whatever you're doing, no matter what blanket, what size, whatever, it's always point to you. So for the long ones, and I'll show you this again when I do it, but we're gonna fold it in half long ways, so it's in a triangle, all right? And this is where the head is going to go. But for a hospital swaddle, when maybe your baby is on the bigger side and sort of running out of space in this type of swaddle, instead of folding in full half, because if we did, literally their feet would stick out. You'd really only cover like this much of their body and it wouldn't really work for you. So instead, you make a flat surface by folding in a corner just here. So now this is their flat surface that's gonna go up protecting their neck. And then you have so much more extra space to actually swaddle your baby with. So step 1 is decide on which swaddle you want. Step 2 is create that flat surface. If it's a smaller blanket, just fold down a corner. If it's a bigger one, you're gonna fold it in a full half size with a triangle shape, with the triangle facing towards you. You're gonna lay it down, and then we're actually gonna cut to me swaddling sweet Dakota, and you'll see him like in his cute little onesie, and I'll show you exactly how I swaddle with all of my tips and tricks. So I'm here with my nephew. He is passed out asleep, so I hope that he stays like this for the rest of this video, but we'll see how it goes, okay? So I'm gonna show you exactly how I swaddle him. Now, when I was trying to decide which swaddle to go with for this, because it really is sort of the same thing, I think I'm gonna go with the stretchy swaddle. So this guy right here, because this is my own personal favorite, you're gonna find what you like, your own preferences. I know his dad loves the like pre-swaddler, the halo, the ones with the Velcro that make it really easy for you. Totally up to you, different purposes for different things, but we're gonna go with the stretchy one while I swaddle him for this time so you can see why I like it so much, okay? So first of all, we're gonna like leave baby sleeping. So I'm just gonna literally lower him onto my lap. He's so good and like sleeps so well and is so perfect. I love him so much. Look at this. So he's already in his sleeper, which is good. He could sleep like this. Now, mind you, remember it's always back to sleep. And so he'd be on his back with his little footed onesie. You're feeling for temperature. One light layer heavier than what you would normally wear is good. But for sleeping, you would want them in a footed onesie like this. He could be like this. Now remember, in order to sleep better, to avoid waking up, swaddling is one thing that we can do. So I'm gonna open this up, and I know I showed you guys earlier how big they are, and like that can be good, that can be bad. So remember, this one is humongous. Okay, so it has multiple purposes. Now, when it has one side with a pattern and the other side without the pattern, I want the pattern out because I want it to look super cute when he's all nice and cuddly swaddled. So I am going to turn this into a triangle first. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Notice how my edges at the bottom are not perfect, which is totally fine. But I want a flat surface, and then I want a diamond or a triangle at the bottom, like that. Okay, so we also have this super cute dog in the background now, I guess. We're flexing and flowing here. All right, so I want the diamond, the part that I have not folded, pointing towards me. And then I want this flat surface out in front of me so that this is where the head's gonna go. Okay, so then I'm gonna take my little newborn, so soft, try not to wake him up, although he'll get right back to sleep once he gets swaddled. And then I am gonna line him up so that the back of the swaddle is about at the ear level, because that'll provide some neck support. That's one of the benefits of swaddling, is that it just makes a newborn who are so floppy and kind of hard to maneuver, that makes them a little more sturdy and a little bit more easy to navigate, okay? So I want the ears here, and then these are my sides, and then my tail is down here. Now remember, one of the keys is that we want their hips able to move. So whether that be extend or bend up, we want movement in the hips. We don't want to restrict the hips too much, okay? So that's key. Really though, we want to restrict up here for the moral reflex, which I want to see. Come on, baby. There it is. Oh, no, that's just a strap. Oh my gosh, you're cute. Okay, so let's see if we can get a Moro. Okay, sorry to wake you. Oh, nope. All right, well, it would be like a, right, that wakes you up, which that could wake you up as well. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring him down, and we want his arms tucked. So they can either be here or they can be up here. I know for him, he typically keeps his hands here. That's a lot more common. And so we're gonna wrap him that way, all right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab about 6 inches from his face. Now what I could do is just wrap him like this and then wrap him like that, and look at how quickly he's gonna be out of that swaddle, because part of it is we wanna lock their hands in so they feel nice and secure, and we're avoiding them waking themselves up with the moral reflex. I'm so sorry, love. So instead, I'm gonna grab this corner and I'm gonna go down towards the belly button and lock that arm in. And then I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna let the swaddle kind of like flatten itself out, and then I'm gonna pull all the way around. So then this long flap is just gonna roll underneath. You can go all the way under. Because there's so much extra, I am just gonna straighten it out so it's not super lumpy. It may be uncomfortable for them if it's not super flat on the side. But notice the chest is pretty secure here, and his arms are locked in because I did that little like bed corner thing right here. Then what you can do is you can turn this up, the bottom part up, and just leave it. I usually leave it pretty loose so that they have some of that movement. Really what needs to be tight is up here so he can wiggle his legs around. The other thing we can do is just let it dangle, or we can just like tie it in a knot. I don't know that there'll be enough slack to tie it in a knot, but this one usually we can. So then, depending on what I do, I can just throw that up there like it is. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on this side, locking his arm in, holding it with my other hand here, coming out, letting it straighten, and then bringing it all the way around. And you're gonna see that a lot of times your fabric is like this. So just kind of stretch it out, get it going. There's like gross. And then I'm gonna pull pretty tight up here, just enough so that he's secure. I can roll him back around, let him fall for now, and then look at where we have some slack. If this wanted to be open, it could be open. His feet are covered, so that's good, so he's not gonna get too cold. So I'll just leave it like that, and then you have this extra thing. So I'm gonna pick him up, and I'm just gonna pull this around. Now this flap can just stay like that, or it could tuck in the bottom in like a little crease, or sometimes people tuck it up top. I don't usually do that. You're staring at me, so sweet. Hi, sorry for waking you. Now, what I love about the stretchy swaddle is the fact that you have a lot more give, and you can really kind of pull and tuck, and it's gonna look a lot more clean than the muslin swaddle. The muslin kind of ends up a little bit looser. A lot of times their hands, to me, get out a lot more. But if you look at this kid now, which Let's see if he leaves that out. If you look at him now, look at how tight he is up here. It's loose down here. He's straightening his legs. We want that full mobility of his hips, but it also looks pretty tucked and clean. And you see how those edges right here are able to kind of lock his arms down. Now, naturally, you end up with these little like Houdini babies that can get their arms out. And so that's where this trick to me is super important, and making sure that this is tight enough so that they don't wiggle out. When there's any kind of looseness, so quickly your swaddle's already gone, and then it actually can become a sleeping hazard because there's basically like a blanket in their crib. So it's almost better not to swaddle unless you get him good and locked in. And notice how much more asleep he is, and he actually is asleep right now, by the way, with his eyes open. Whole nother video coming. And so I like the stretchy because it's going to kind of contain him that way. You have a lot of extra give here, plus the pattern's really cute. That's my own personal preference. Now with the muslin, you can also lock their arms in that way. The key is tight up here, loose down here, and then you'll figure out what you like. I hope you found that super helpful. I hope that you can go back and you can practice with your newborn. If you have a stuffed animal, if you have a dog, just kidding, I was actually trying to do that earlier and it was hilarious. If you have a pillow, something newborn size, you can always practice this prior. It sometimes takes some getting used to, and especially when they're really wiggly. Be assertive, kind of show them who's boss, and tuck their arms where they want to be. Even if they fight you, they don't know what they need. And a lot of times you kind of force their arms here, or you force their arms down, and they're gonna all of a sudden start to calm, they're gonna soothe, and then you end up with the sweetest sleeping baby of your life, and you can just cuddle them. They're so much more easy to maneuver and pass around versus like the floppy newborn thing that can be really uncomfortable for people. Thank you so much for being with me here, guys. If you want more from me, of course, you can go over to Bundle Birth. I think probably the one class that I would love to make sure that you know about is my infant safety and CPR class. Once coronavirus happened, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the one in-person class that you guys absolutely need for knowing how to keep your newborn safe, knowing all your essential skills. So not swaddling, not diapering, like those kind of things you'll learn in the hospital or in a newborn class, but this is the safety stuff, how to give medications, circumcision care, umbilical cord care, what's normal, what's not, when to call the pediatrician. And then I show you how to do infant CPR and then how to respond to choking. So those guys, that class is like, to me, one of the more essential classes that you need for taking care of your newborn. You can go over to Bundle Birth and find it over there. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go on over to Instagram, follow me at Bundle Birth. I have lots of other tidbits over there. There's story highlights, more with him, little teaching moments I've had in the middle of the night with him that are so sweet. And then make sure you subscribe down below, give it a like, share it with a friend, comment what your favorite part about this was, maybe some other tips you have for swaddling. If you want to tag your favorite swaddle companies, all your different tricks and tools to making sure that your swaddles are successful, let us all know, share your knowledge and your experience with all of the Bundle Birth world. And then until next time, don't forget to flex and flow, and I will see you soon. Bye. You know what? You're not gonna comment because you don't know what to comment on because you haven't even seen it. Okay. Okay? I am passed out. I am having the best time. My little model. So I'm gonna lay this down in front of me. Hi, Squeeze. Do you wanna play? Oh. Oh. Okay, well, we've been hijacked. So, do you want to be swaddled? Because we could try that too. I don't think it'll go well. Here. Okay. I want the diamond pointing towards me.
The couch.
Squeeze. Come up here. Come on. Perfect. Lay down. Lay down.
Squeeze. Lay down.
Lay down.
Hey.
Lay down.
Well, little rebellious boy.
You can just sit there. That's fine.
There.
I'm gonna get lipstick all over you. You're so delicious. I love you so much. Oh, I love them so much. I'm never leaving. I love you so much. God, you're so cute and perfect.